Alright, physicsers, this is the big bad boy right here. This is the video that combines most of the skills that we've been doing up until this point. Alright, so probably one of the hardest things you're going to do technically in physics is word problems. But luckily I have a method called the guess method. Using the guess method to solve word problems is going to make it really, really easy, alright, or at least approachable. Guess method doesn't mean I guessed the problem. It stands for 5 processes. The G in guess stands for given. Okay, given, which means list all givens from the word problem. I go through my problem, underline stuff, and I'm going to list them all in the G section. Okay, the U stands for unknown, which means if I list my unknown down in U, I get another point for my problem. I get a total of 5 points per problem. It's like if you were a diver and you get a perfect dive, you get a 10 out of 10. Well, for Mr. Bayona's physics class, if you do perfect on a word problem, it is 5 out of 5. Okay? Get some nice rain in the background too, if you can hear that. Okay, the E stands for equation. Okay. Now, the hardest part about this process is this step, the equation. Because look right here. If I'm using the definition of velocity, velocity equals displacement over time. It should be a T, not a squiggly. Displacement over time. That's a T, I promise. Okay. I can't just put this equation down for every problem that uses velocity, displacement, time. I have to make sure to solve for the desired variable. And if you remember from algebra practice, solve for means get by itself. Okay, so if I was solving for D, I would have to have an equation that says D equals. If I was solving for T, I would have to say T equals. Is the point. It's the hardest part right here, but I guarantee you, even if you don't know how to do math, you can do the givens and the unknowns. That's 2 out of 5 points. Most likely, you'll be able to do the equation part because you've practiced and you've gotten help, you've gotten tutoring, all that good stuff. Okay. The last 2 S's. The first S is substitution or substitute, which means plug in. If you just plug in numbers, and remember our numbers were listed in the givens, right? I listed all givens, that's numbers and values. If you just plug in numbers into the equation correctly, you're going to get a point. Anybody can do that. Last part, your calculator does this. Solve. Put in the calculator and finish all your hard work. Okay, it's 1 point. Now, if you're like one of my super kids that likes to do this where they skip all these, for my class, I'm only going to give you the 1 point for solve, okay? I'm grading the process more than I'm grading the right answer. Okay? So I really, really, really need to see this process. This works to your advantage, though, because let's say you're not good at the equation, so you mess up on the equation. I'm going to take off 1 point, but you substitute it in the correct place, even if it's the wrong equation. I'll give you a point for that. And then your solve is probably going to be wrong, right? But you're at least getting 3 points out of that instead of getting just 1 point or 0 points, right? You should be able to get 40% of that problem, 2 out of 5, right? That's pretty cool. So if you show all your steps, it's to your advantage. Okay, let's actually do it on this problem here. A car is moving with a speed, a uniform speed of 15 meters per second. Okay, so maybe I'm going to write a letter over here. It's going to be V, D, or T, velocity, displacement, or time. Let's say I don't know what meters per second is, so I'm going to wait. What is the distance? So what is, so I put question mark, distance. What is the distance? Okay, D is for distance, so D, right? Covered by the car in 720 seconds. Okay, seconds. Is that a V for velocity, a displacement, or a time? Well, seconds is measured on my watch that I have on my hand, and my watch tells me the time. Okay, so that's how I remember that. So time is equal, right? I got time right here. So now what's that leave me with? I have displacement and time taken up, so 15 meters per second has to be a velocity, okay? Now when I'm doing my givens, guess where I'm going to get all this information from? Boom, check this out. Time equals 720 seconds. Use the units, always use the units. What's my other given? 15.0 meters per second is equal to velocity. And how do I know it's velocity? I'm taking it from right here, right? I could have just taken it. Take it. Mine. All right. That's all my givens. Now, U stands for unknown. do that in purple. Let's do it in purple. Okay. My unknown. What am I looking for? Question mark here. Displacement equals, and you can leave it either as like a blank or nothing, or you can put a question mark. I don't care. Okay. Displacement is what we're looking for. Distance. Equation. Now, can I just do this? Can I just steal this equation right here? No, I cannot, because what did it say for equation? Solve for the desired variable. And what do I desire? I desire whatever my unknown is. Okay? Displacement. So I cannot just use that equation. Okay? But what I can do is I can solve for d. Okay, we did that before. We did that on another worksheet. I get d by itself by getting rid of this divide by t, right? So I multiply by t, do the opposite of divide by t. Do it to both sides. So my equation is displacement equals time times velocity. Great. Okay, now, check this out. Put all this stuff out the way. Alright, let's get that out the way. Okay, so that's my equation. Now, for substitute, that means plug in, right? I have to plug it in the exact same format that it's in right now. If I have t times v, my numbers need to also be multiplying. So guess what? I'm going to just take from my givens. For time, I put 720 seconds. Boom, like that. Okay? It's multiplying, so let's put parentheses around it. For my velocity, it's time times velocity. I'm going to take this velocity right here and just put it next to it. Okay, I wrote it in. I plugged it in. Okay. I have to put units because this is why. How do I know what my final unit's going to be, right? Maybe I don't know what distance is. Well, check this out. I got seconds up top, seconds on the bottom. They're going to cancel, just like all of our algebra. So what unit am I left with now? Well, what's remaining? Meters, right? I put this in my handy-dandy calculator, and I get 10,800 meters. Okay? 10,800 meters. You could also do that in scientific notation. 8 times 10 to the 4th meters. Always have a unit. If you don't have the unit, you miss the solve. You get a -1. Okay? So put the units. Okay? Great. All right, let's try another one. Again, if this is fast, pause, rewind. Okay, I'm going to do this one a little bit faster, though. Racehorse running with uniform speed of 19 meters per second. I know that's a velocity. What is the time? What, question mark, is equals time for the horse to cover 400 meters. 400 meters is a measure of distance. So my given distance equals 400 meters. What's my other given? 19 meters per second is equal to velocity. Okay, my unknown. What is the time? Time equals question mark. Equation. Okay, here's, I always want to rewrite my definition equation. Use the original. Okay. Okay, remember my rule? I need to solve for t. It's on the bottom. I can get it on top, right? Top and bottom. Swap them out. Remember, this is all you need to do to show to work. T equals displacement over v. So that exchange the extremes of the means, right? Okay. For substitute, be very careful. A lot of people like to do this. That's not going to come easily. All right. A lot of people like to do this. They do 400 meters. Oh, Mr. Banner, I just did this in the last problem, right? Boom. Cannot do this. Why? Look at the format of my equation. My distance is being divided by velocity. What do I have here? My distance is being times by velocity. That's no good, man. So cannot do that. Cannot do that. So let's erase this. It has to be the exact same format. It has to be the same format. So if I have a 400 here, there needs to be a 400 on top. Okay, so 400 on top. If there's a v on the bottom, guess what needs to be on the bottom? My value for v. Okay. Now what's going to cancel out this time? So I know what my final units are. The meters cancel out. My final answer is going to be in seconds. I put this guy in the calculator. And I get, not to 2 decimal places, 21.05 seconds. Okay, 21.05 seconds. Okay, good job. Let me know if you have any questions.